Hello, another video here for you today. Beyond Oak Island is a show in which the History Channel and Rick and Marty Lagina get involved with other treasure mysteries. If you missed any of my recaps of The Curse of Oak Island or Beyond Oak Island, there's a link to the playlist in the upper right. This is a no-cap recap of Season 1, Episode 4, called The Lost Dutchman's Curse. Let's get into it. The episode opens in the war room with metal detection expert Gary Drayton and Rick and Marty Lagina talking about how often a curse is associated with treasure. Host Matty Blake joins them, and Gary tells that he has just returned from Superstition Mountain's supposed location of the Lost Dutchman's mine. Gary says he met with several people that all have a different idea of where the mine actually is. They discussed the supposed curse. Many people that were looking for the mine never returned, and the local Apache Indians say the land there is cursed. Narrator Robert Clotworthy explains that the Superstition Mountains are 50 miles east of Phoenix, Arizona, and are comprised of granite. Like so many of these stories, someone found it, told of finding it, but no one has found it since. People have been searching for it over the past 100 years. Many deaths and even unsolved murders have happened in those mountains. A Spanish family of prospectors called the Peraltas found gold deposits there in the 1840s. The Apache Indians killed all of them except for a little boy who survived to tell the story. It is believed that following the massacre, the Apaches buried the gold and covered up the mine entrance to restore the land to its natural state, which they hold sacred. At the end of the Mexican-American War, Mexico ceded much of Arizona to the United States. Many Americans then flooded the area to look for gold, including immigrant from Germany Jacob Waltz. He is believed to have found the mine between 1865 and 1868. Jacob didn't tell anyone where it was. People followed him to try to learn the location, but any time he thought he was being followed, he did not go to the mine location. No one knows how much gold he had collected, but he had become very wealthy. He claimed he found hundreds of pounds of gold ore. After a flood washed away his house, he lived with a friend he had helped previously with money problems and her roommate. In 1891, the over 80-year-old Waltz most likely contracted pneumonia, and while his friend went to get the doctor, a friend of hers stayed with Jacob. When she got back, Jacob was dead, and the friend was gone along with 48 pounds of gold ore that was under his bed. It was $16 an ounce at the time, and it was $1,600 an ounce when this episode was recorded. It's unknown if Waltz told any of them the location of the mine. 1 week earlier, Gary had traveled to the abandoned town of Goldfield, just west of the Superstition Mountains, and where gold had been discovered in the early 1890s. Gary is meeting with treasure hunter Bob Shoes to hear Bob's research on the mine. Bob has been looking for the Dutchman mine for 50 years. Bob thinks the Dutchman's mine is the Bulldog mine, which is right below the funny-looking peak in this photo. Right there. In 2003, the Bulldog mine was deemed a safety hazard and was completely filled in and is off limits. They go to an area outside of Goldfield at the base of the mountains to search for gold. Bob says that whenever it floods, the water brings the gold down to that area and gets caught in cracks and crevices. Gary's detector is no good here, as they are looking for flour gold, tiny flakes that will not register unless there's a huge amount. They go back to Goldfield to pan the material they have collected, and Gary finds a speck of gold right away, but apparently nothing else. Gary next meets with 90-year-old Clay Worst, who spent 20 years searching for the mine, with George Holmes, the son of the man that disappeared with the gold that was under Jacob's bed. This matchbox was reportedly made the year after Jacob Waltz died. The white is quartz. Clay has a Holmes family affidavit that states that the gold in the matchbox came from the gold that was under Jacob Waltz's deathbed. Clay says that only a handful of people know the general area of the location of the mine, and also that he will not reveal it. Gary then meets with another group that has documents and science pointing the way to a completely different location. Ron Feldman and his sons, Josh and Jesse. They believe that the Lost Dutchman's mine is the Silver Chief Mine, 20 miles east of the Bulldog Mine. They have former treasure hunter Ted Cox's original writings about his search. Part of it says, quote, "Report on the Lost Dutchman mine and my attempt to own it and mine it between 1957 and 1964. Using those notes, Ron says they were able to walk right up to the mine. He compared ore taken from the area to the matchbox that Clay Worst loaned him using an X-ray fluorescent machine, and it matched. They are constantly using X-ray fluorescence on Oak Island these days. They are not mining it because the land is under the jurisdiction of the National Forest Service and no mining is allowed since 1984. It also is completely caved in." Back in the war room, they discuss how the real curse of the mine is that it's unsolvable until, if ever, that land is opened back up to mining. The Beyond Oak Island episode that followed this one in December of 2020 is called Deepwater Gold, in which Rick and Marty's friend and world-renowned diver John Chatterton searches for a never-recovered Spanish ship off the coast of Florida, and Gary Drayton tells of his most compelling and valuable find ever. Once I recap that episode, a link to it will be in the upper right in this video. Thank you so much for watching.